Instacart confidentially filed for its long-awaited IPO yesterday, this only weeks after the company cut its estimated valuation, Akiko, by 40%. And a lot of companies have actually paused their U.S. listings. No wonder, because of the volatility that we've seen in markets, which raises the question, at least for Instacart, in this economy?
The timing is really interesting on this one, because you mentioned the cut in valuation. That's something Instacart did on their own, which is not something you see often in startups, Silicon Valley. Obviously, you see down rounds, but this is a company coming out and saying, just given where the tech stocks have fallen, we understand that our valuation is not as high as where it used to be. Now, in addition to that, if you look at the growth rate of Instacart, 330% growth between 2019 and 2020. By some estimates, in the last year, was at 15%. So this comes at a time when Instacart is slowing significantly, obviously off of the big highs it saw during the pandemic. And I'm really curious to see what investors or how investors value the company.
Yeah, and you do wonder to what degree, like, the volatility is probably going to get worse, right? So if you're going into the market now, after you have already slashed your valuation dramatically, you're kind of wondering if the company is saying, actually, this is going to be the time for us to raise capital, because if we wait any longer, we're not going to be making even a fraction of what we can be making now, even after cutting our valuation, which does raise some questions about what is the growth trajectory of this company. Now, you mentioned 330%. I mean, that's an eye-popping figure, and it makes sense because of the flow of people that were interested in using those delivery services.
Everybody was stuck at home.
But that was kind of the peak. I mean, you can't imagine people will be relying on Instacart more now that the economy is reopened than they were during the depths of the pandemic. So if you're Instacart, you're probably wondering, you know what? We missed the party on IPOing during the end of 2020, the most of 2021. So look, maybe it's okay to catch a falling knife here, because we'll catch a deeper knife later on.
And I was thinking about this, going back to our conversation earlier about Rivian. A lot of this is about communicating to investors what your value proposition is for the company. And part of that was them coming out and pulling back, cutting their valuation, saying, we understand we are still very much in growth mode right now. The company has expanded its offerings, right? It's not just about grocery stores anymore. They have tie-ups with the likes of Target, with Best Buy. So they are expanding their offerings. It is, it's there. And I don't know. I don't use Instacart. I know a lot of people who started during the pandemic who are still sticking to it.
Hot topic on our team, Instacart.
How many people use Instacart?
Well, no, I mean, just the experience that people have had on Instacart.
Yeah.
I haven't used it, but, I will say it's kind of just a big macro point. A lot of companies that are seeing their stocks fall after IPOing in late 2020 or 2021, I'm just not so sure how much they care. And the reason why is because they did the capital raise, right? They did the capital raise, and if it's a macro story that's pulling the whole tide down, yes, it's not. No one ever wants to see their stock go down by 60 or 70%. But if you're a company that was peaking, and especially if you're one of these at-home trades, you made the capital raise when the valuation was at the highest, and you probably knew as management that the stock market was probably going to take the value of your company down. But then you did okay. So I'm not crying for some of these companies that did capital raise. Instacart is late to the party. That's the reason.
But then why go public is the question, right? Does the company need the money right now? I mean, that's another question to be asking. We've heard so much about how much money is being raised on the private side of things. This is something obviously that we're going to...
That's a situation where I go...
We'll continue to obviously explore as we wait for the debut.